Unable to resist the pull any longer, Veronica leaned into Dylan's embrace. Their kiss, tentative at first, deepened into an exchange filled with both tenderness and a fervent hunger for renewal. Every gentle caress and whispered confession was a step away from the loneliness that had defined her recent years. In that heated, fragile moment, the past receded and all that remained was the promise of a new beginning. Before we start, thank you for coming to my channel. Your participation is my happiness. Let me know where you are and what time it is now. Okay, now let's get into the story. At 62, Veronica had grown accustomed to the quiet solitude of her evenings, a quiet punctuated only by memories of a love lost and a life rebuilt. Yet on one stormy midnight, as restless thoughts kept her awake, she found herself compelled to leave the confines of her warm bed. The persistent tick of the clock echoed in the silence as she padded barefoot down the hallway toward the living room, hoping a glass of water might soothe the emptiness inside. The soft glow of a table lamp spilled into the room, and to her surprise, Veronica discovered that she wasn't alone. Sitting on the worn but comfortable sofa was Dylan, a man whose presence she'd only known in passing until her brother had urged her to offer him temporary shelter. Dylan, 42 and freshly heartbroken from a bitter divorce, carried his own quiet sorrow in the way his eyes often drifted into the distance. Tonight, however, he seemed almost lost in the gentle strains of a classic romantic film playing softly on the television. Veronica hesitated at the doorway, a mixture of curiosity and compassion stirring within her. She'd always believed that loneliness could be both a burden and a catalyst for unexpected connections. "I'm just getting a glass of water," she called softly, trying not to disturb the tender mood in the room. Dylan turned, startled for just a moment before offering a small, apologetic smile. "Oh, Veronica, I didn't expect you up. I hope I'm not intruding," he said, his voice low and laced with uncertainty. "Not at all," she replied, moving toward the small kitchen nook. "Some nights it's hard to sleep. I thought a bit of water might help." As she reached for a glass from the cupboard, the tension between them, subtle yet undeniable, seemed to weave into the silence of the room. After a brief pause, Dylan set the remote aside and gestured toward the couch. "Care to join me for a bit? Sometimes company helps ease the night." His invitation carried a sincere warmth that made Veronica's heart skip a beat. Though the idea of sharing this midnight moment with another soul was new to her, it felt right, an antidote to the loneliness that had long shadowed her days. Veronica settled onto the couch beside him, the soft hum of the movie in the background slowly merging with the quiet cadence of their own unspoken thoughts. As the film's romantic scenes unfolded, she couldn't help but glance at Dylan. There was a vulnerability there that mirrored her own, a delicate fragility that belied the strength she'd forged over years of loss and survival. Their conversation began hesitantly at first, simple remarks about the film, the sound of the rain tapping against the window, even the bittersweet memory of days gone by. Yet with every exchanged look and gentle smile, the space between them seemed to shrink until at one point, their hands brushed as Veronica reached for her water glass. The accidental touch sparked a warmth that spread quickly, like embers catching fire. "I'm sorry," she murmured, pulling her hand away as if startled by the intensity of the sensation. Dylan's eyes met hers, a silent reassurance passing between them. It's all right," he replied softly. "Sometimes the smallest moments can remind us that we're not as alone as we think." In that fleeting contact, something awakened within Veronica. A long dormant yearning to feel connected, to feel seen. She recalled the vibrant days of her youth, when life pulsed with possibility and every new encounter promised adventure. Now, in this unexpected midnight interlude, she sensed that perhaps the road to renewal could begin with a single gentle spark. The movie continued to play, but the dialogue soon faded into the background as they sat together in a companionable silence. Outside, the storm raged on, yet inside the living room, a quiet intimacy had taken hold. Veronica's heart, heavy with memories of a lost husband and the echo of years spent in isolation, began to beat with a tentative hope. Could this unplanned encounter be the first step toward reclaiming a piece of herself she thought was long gone? As the night deepened, so did the connection between them. Dylan's thoughtful glances and kind words wove a subtle tapestry of shared understanding. For the first time in a long while, Veronica felt the promise of a future that might hold new beginnings, even if it came wrapped in the unexpected guise of a midnight conversation. When the film finally ended, the soft glow of the screen gave way to the quiet murmur of the storm outside. Veronica excused herself to her bedroom, her mind swirling with emotions both old and new. As she lay on her bed, she couldn't help but wonder if this night, so seemingly ordinary yet charged with unspoken possibility, was the beginning of something that would transform her life. And so, beneath the gentle hum of the night and the distant call of raindrops, Veronica embraced the uncertainty. A small, brave step toward rediscovering not only the warmth of human connection, but also the spark of life that had been waiting patiently in the silence. The first light of dawn crept in through the sheer curtains, gently nudging Veronica awake. Still wrapped in the fragile afterglow of midnight's unexpected intimacy, she found herself alone with her thoughts. The storm outside had subsided into a quiet drizzle, mirroring the soft, tentative emotions that now stirred within her heart. For years, Veronica had carefully curated her solitude after loss, a protective shell built from grief and routine. Yet that night, when fate nudged her out of bed and into the living room, something in her shifted. Veronica sat at the edge of her bed, a steaming mug of tea in hand, and allowed the memories of that midnight encounter with Dylan to wash over her. His gentle smile, the way his eyes lingered on hers as if searching for a spark of hope, and the warmth of his hand brushing against hers had stirred a longing she hadn't felt in decades. It was as if every quiet moment of loneliness had been paving the way for this delicate, unexpected connection. Unable to shake the pull, she made her way slowly to the window. Outside, the world was awakening, a soft pastel dawn replacing the darkness of night. The contrast between the cold silence of her past and the tender promise of the morning stirred an unspoken resolve within her. She remembered the way Dylan had quietly asked her to share the couch that night, his invitation not demanding but gently hopeful. It had felt like a small rebellion against years of isolation. At breakfast, as she sat alone with her thoughts, Veronica replayed fragments of their conversation. The soft confessions about loneliness, the quiet laughter that had filled the living room when they discussed memories of lost loves and youthful dreams. Dylan's presence had been both a balm and a mirror to her own buried desires. The longing to be seen, to feel alive, to connect with another soul on a deeper level. That morning, as she watered the garden outside, Veronica noticed a subtle shift in her world. The dew on the roses shimmered like tiny diamonds, and each droplet seemed to carry the promise of renewal. It was then that she realized that perhaps this was not merely a passing moment of vulnerability, but the start of something transformative. The fear of opening her heart had always held her back, but now a curious courage was budding within her, a resolve to explore these uncharted emotions. Later that day, as she was tidying up the living room, the doorbell rang softly. Veronica's heart gave a small leap. When she opened the door, there stood Dylan, his expression warm yet tinged with a quiet apprehension. He held a small bouquet of fresh lilies, the kind she used to adore, and his eyes shone with sincerity. "Good morning, Veronica," he greeted, his voice gentle, as if he were carefully treading the fragile line between hope and regret. "I was passing by and thought, perhaps you wouldn't mind some company today." For a moment, the past and present collided in that simple gesture. Veronica's heart swelled with a mix of emotions, remembrance, longing, and the budding promise of connection. "Please come in," she replied, stepping aside to let him enter. The living room, which had been filled with quiet solitude only hours before, now seemed to welcome the possibility of shared laughter and gentle conversation. They settled together over a light brunch, the conversation meandering from reminiscences of days long gone to the subtle dreams that had started to awaken within them. Dylan spoke of his own journey, a divorce that had shattered his world and left him searching for a new beginning. Veronica listened, each word resonating with her own unspoken grief and quiet hopes. It was as if they were two wanderers, each bearing scars of loss yet daring to imagine that life might still hold moments of beauty. As the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, the pair found themselves on Veronica's back porch, where soft music from a neighbor's radio mingled with the whisper of a gentle breeze. In that suspended moment, with the golden light painting their faces, the space between them felt charged with unspoken promises. Dylan's hand reached out tentatively, brushing against hers, a small yet electrifying touch that sent a cascade of warmth through her. Veronica closed her eyes briefly, savoring the tenderness of that contact. In that single fleeting gesture, she sensed that this was the beginning of a journey, one that might lead her to rediscover not only the joys of companionship, but also the parts of herself she had long forgotten. Though uncertainty still lingered at the edges of her mind, Veronica felt ready to embrace the unknown. The past, with all its heartbreak and loss, would always be a part of her. But now, as she stood on the threshold of a new day, she dared to believe that life, even at 62, could unfurl with fresh passion and unexpected light. And so, as twilight faded into dusk that evening, Veronica resolved to step forward with a brave heart. The echoes of midnight had stirred a dormant fire within her, and now, with Dylan by her side, she was prepared to explore the uncharted landscapes of connection and desire, ready to write a new chapter where every moment could shimmer with the promise of a life truly lived. Later that afternoon, as the soft light of the early day settled over Veronica's garden, she and Dylan found themselves wandering among blooming roses and fragrant lavender. The gentle rustle of leaves and distant chirping of birds provided a tender soundtrack to their quiet conversation. Each step along the winding garden path seemed to draw them closer, not just physically but emotionally as well. Veronica paused beside a flowering shrub, her thoughts drifting back to the echoes of a long-lost past. "There was a time," she murmured softly, "when I believed every day held the promise of adventure. But loss taught me to hide behind routine." Her voice wavered between wistfulness and quiet resolve. Dylan's gaze was steady and compassionate as he reached out, brushing a stray silver hair from her cheek. "I can't imagine the depth of your loss, Veronica, but I can see that spark in you, the spark of a woman who once embraced life fully." His words, simple yet sincere, stirred something deep within her. As they continued their stroll, the conversation deepened. Dylan shared fragments of his own story, how his divorce had left him searching for a sense of belonging, for a refuge amid the storm of heartbreak. Veronica listened intently, realizing that though their journeys were very different, both of them carried scars and unfulfilled hopes. In that shared vulnerability, the distance between them diminished further. Returning to the house, they found solace on the back porch where the afternoon sun still cast a warm glow. The conversation gradually gave way to a comfortable silence. Then, as if guided by an unseen current, Dylan reached out again. This time his hand found Veronica's, their fingers intertwining naturally. In that quiet moment, the cool breeze carried a subtle charge, a promise of something new, something daring. Veronica's heart pounded as she recalled the hesitant touch from the night before. Now, with daylight softening the edges of her doubts, that memory blossomed into a delicate yet unmistakable yearning. "I've been alone for so long," she admitted in a hushed tone, her eyes searching his. "I never thought I'd feel this alive again." Dylan's reply was gentle yet fervent. "It's as if tonight, the world has given us a second chance. I want to help you rediscover that joy, if you'll let me." His words hung in the air, resonating with the truth of unspoken promises, and the bold vulnerability of hearts willing to risk it all. The intensity between them grew, each glance laden with the weight of all they had once buried deep within. Veronica felt her defenses melting away as the garden's fragrant perfume, and the lingering warmth of the sun, seemed to wrap around them like a protective cocoon. The sound of a nearby fountain mingled with their soft breathing, creating an intimate lullaby that set their pulse racing. Unable to resist the pull any longer, Veronica leaned into Dylan's embrace. Their kiss, tentative at first, deepened into an exchange filled with both tenderness and a fervent hunger for renewal. Every gentle caress and whispered confession was a step away from the loneliness that had defined her recent years. In that heated, fragile moment, the past receded and all that remained was the promise of a new beginning. As they slowly parted, still holding each other close, Veronica's eyes glistened with unshed tears, a mixture of relief, hope, and the bittersweet awareness of change. "I don't know where this path will lead," she whispered. "But for the first time in years I feel that I'm ready to take that step." Dylan's smile was soft, filled with both admiration and the gentle certainty of a man who understood the value of every fleeting moment. "Then let's walk it together," he replied, his voice a soothing anchor in the midst of her storm of emotions. In the quiet aftermath on that sunlit porch, with the garden whispering its ancient secrets and the day stretching out with infinite possibility, Veronica realized that sometimes, the embers of renewal could be sparked by the most unexpected of connections. And though the road ahead was uncertain, The promise of rediscovered passion and companionship lit a fire in her heart that she never thought possible. Thank you for listening to the story so far. Your encouragement means a lot to me. Please comment and share your thoughts here. I love you and I am so grateful to have you on this journey with me to explore the story further. Later that week, as the golden afternoon light slanted through the windows of my living room, I couldn't shake the feeling that the quiet renewal I'd discovered was stirring a mix of hope and trepidation deep within me. The tenderness of my recent moments with Dylan lingered like a secret melody, a tune both sweet and bittersweet. I sat by the window, a steaming cup of tea in hand, lost in thought as memories of our garden stroll and the gentle caress of his hand played repeatedly in my mind. It had been a week since that profound, unexpected connection, and with every recollection, I felt both exhilarated and strangely unsettled. The spark of renewal was bright, yet the weight of past losses and new uncertainties pressed at my heart. Just as I was beginning to sift through these swirling emotions, my phone rang. The screen lit up with a familiar name, Karen, my daughter. I hesitated for a moment before answering, bracing myself for news that might remind me of all the careful walls I'd built around my heart. "Hi, Mom." Karen's voice came through, soft yet laced with concern. "I wanted to check in. I've noticed you seem different lately. More open, maybe a little too much so. Are you all right?" Her question stung not because I wasn't okay, but because it forced me to confront the changes happening inside me. I took a deep breath before replying, "I'm doing all right, honey. I've been rediscovering parts of myself I thought were lost. It's been surprising and yes, a bit unsettling too." There was a pause and then Karen spoke again. "I just worry, Mom. I remember how much you struggled after Dad passed. It's wonderful to see you smile again, but please promise me you're taking care of yourself." I reassured her gently. "I promise, Karen. I'm trying to embrace life, even if it means stepping into unfamiliar territory." The conversation ended with her warm encouragement, but the words echoed long after the call. That very evening, the air in the house felt charged with an urgency that I couldn't ignore. Dylan arrived at my doorstep, his eyes earnest and a small bouquet of white daisies in hand, a silent apology perhaps, for the unspoken fears that had crept into our budding connection. I welcomed him inside with a tentative smile, aware that both of us were navigating the fragile border between the comfort of familiarity and the thrill of a new beginning. We settled in the living room again, the soft glow of lamplight and the gentle hum of a quiet playlist providing a serene backdrop. After a few moments of comfortable silence, Dylan broke the quiet. "Veronica," he began, his tone measured yet laden with emotion. "I've been thinking about us, about the space we're carving out together. I know this isn't simple, and there are memories and responsibilities that we can't just erase." I nodded, feeling the gravity of his words. "I understand," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I'm learning to live again, but sometimes the past feels like it's right there at my heels. My daughter worries and I can't ignore that." Dylan reached out, his hand resting gently on mine. "I don't want to cause you any more pain, Veronica. I'm still healing from my own heartbreak, and I know that what we're exploring isn't free of complications. But I promise you, I'm here and I want to be honest every step of the way." The sincerity in his eyes made my heart ache with both longing and uncertainty. For a long moment we sat there in silent understanding, each of us balancing on the edge of something profound. I could almost see the threads of our separate paths beginning to weave into a shared tapestry, a tapestry that held the possibility of both joy and heartache. In that quiet moment, the tension of the day gave way to vulnerability. I found myself confessing, I used to believe that the days after loss were meant for solitude, that moving on was somehow betrayal to the memories of those we've lost. But now, I'm beginning to see that maybe embracing the future doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means honoring it by living fully. Dylan's eyes softened as he squeezed my hand. "We all deserve a second chance at happiness, no matter our age or what we've been through. I admire your courage, Veronica. I want to walk this path with you wherever it may lead without fear, but with open hearts." As the night deepened outside, our conversation wove between reflections of old grief and the tentative promise of new love. The gentle clink of our teacups, the quiet murmur of shared hopes, and even the soft rustle of the wind through the trees became the soundtrack to an evening of honesty. Yet even in that intimacy a silent question lingered. Could we truly embrace this fresh start without the past haunting every step? And as I looked into Dylan's eyes, I realized that perhaps the beauty of this journey lay in its uncertainty. Life's tapestry was rich with both sorrow and joy, and in accepting that, we might find the strength to write new chapters without erasing the ones that came before. In that tender moment of shared vulnerability, I felt a gentle stirring of resolve. I was ready to explore this uncharted territory, to let the tides of change carry me toward a future where my heart could both remember and hope. And as Dylan and I sat together in the quiet glow of that living room, I understood that every new beginning was born from the courage to face the unknown, and that even the most fragile sparks of connection could illuminate the darkest nights. A few days later, as a cool rain pattered against the windows and the sky wore a muted gray, Veronica sensed that the gentle renewal of her heart was about to face an unexpected test. The soft hum of the rain outside mingled with the quiet murmur of the house as she sat at the kitchen table, a steaming mug of tea cradled in her hands. Her thoughts kept returning to Dylan, his steady warmth, his kind eyes, and the promise of a future that seemed to shimmer with possibility. That morning, the chime of the doorbell startled her. Standing in the doorway was Karen, her daughter, her expression a blend of concern and determination. Karen had always been the guardian of Veronica's heart, the one who had seen the toll of years spent in quiet solitude. Today, however, she carried an air of urgency that made Veronica's pulse quicken. "Mom, can we talk?" Karen asked softly, stepping into the living room where the soft light of dawn met the lingering echoes of the night before. Her eyes searched Veronica's face, as if trying to piece together the changes that had stirred in her mother's soul. Veronica took a deep breath, recalling the tender moments of vulnerability shared with Dylan over the past week. "Of course, dear. What's on your mind?" she replied, her voice steady despite the swirl of emotions inside her. Karen hesitated, then said, "I see you smiling more these days. I know you've been through so much, and I'm glad to see you finding joy again. But I also worry. I worry about how quickly things are changing. I want you to be happy, Mom, but I fear that you might be chasing a dream that could lead to heartache." Veronica's heart ached at her daughter's concern. "Karen, I understand your worries. I've spent so long guarding my heart after losing Dad, and sometimes it felt safer to keep the memories locked away. But I'm beginning to believe that maybe it's not about forgetting the past. It's about honoring it by embracing the life that still awaits." Before Karen could respond, the front door opened once more. Dylan appeared in the soft light of the hallway, his presence calm yet charged with unspoken emotion. He offered a gentle nod to Karen, whose eyes flickered with cautious hope and lingering apprehension. "I'm sorry if I've come at a difficult time," Dylan said quietly, his voice respectful as he stepped forward. "I only want what's best for Veronica." Karen's gaze softened as she regarded him. "I just want you both to be careful," she replied, her tone earnest. "Sometimes the past can cast a long shadow, and I don't want any of you to get hurt." Veronica reached out and took Karen's hand, feeling the steady pulse of familial love. "We'll be careful, sweetheart. I'm not trying to run away from my past. I'm simply learning to live again," she explained, her eyes meeting Dylan's in a silent pact of understanding. In that delicate moment, as the three of them stood in the quiet of the living room, Veronica felt the full weight of her journey, a collision of memories and newfound hope. The gentle reassurance in Karen's eyes, coupled with Dylan's compassionate presence, reminded her that every new beginning is not without its risks. Yet, the promise of embracing life with all its tangled emotions was a risk she was finally willing to take. The rain continued its steady rhythm outside as Veronica realized that the path ahead would be challenging, marked by moments of joy, bouts of uncertainty, and the inevitable echoes of a past that refused to fade completely. But she also understood that it was in confronting these echoes that she could truly carve out a space for herself in the present. That day marked a turning point, a promise to honor both the love lost and the love waiting to be discovered, as Veronica prepared to step forward into a future where every heartbeat was a testament to resilience, hope, and the quiet courage of a woman daring to live again. The days that followed that rainy confrontation felt both fragile and full of promise. With Karen's honest concern still echoing in her heart, Veronica resolved that true healing meant taking a leap of faith, one step at a time. Determined to embrace this new chapter, she agreed to join Dylan for an afternoon at the local community renewal fair, an event dedicated to celebrating fresh beginnings and honoring the wisdom of those who had journeyed through life's hardships. That crisp morning, as Veronica carefully chose an outfit that blended comfort with the subtle spark of her old vibrancy, she felt an unusual mix of trepidation and anticipation. Dylan greeted her at the door with a warm smile and a bouquet of wildflowers, their bright colors a gentle promise against the gray autumn sky. At the fair, the air buzzed with laughter, soft music, and the hum of lively conversation. Veronica wandered among booths filled with art, handmade crafts, and inspirational stories shared by people of every age. For a moment, she forgot the weight of her past and allowed herself to be swept up in the vibrant energy of new beginnings. Dylan stayed by her side throughout the day, his supportive presence steady and reassuring. When they paused by a booth where a local poet recited verses about hope and renewal, Veronica felt tears welling in her eyes, not of sorrow but of profound gratitude. In that moment, the pain of loss was balanced by the warmth of human connection. As the afternoon unfolded, Karen unexpectedly arrived at the fair. She had come not to confront her mother, but to understand the new light she saw in Veronica's eyes. Though cautious, Karen's presence was a reminder of the deep bonds of family, and the hope that these bonds could grow even stronger through honest dialogue. Later, while sitting on a bench beneath a canopy of gently swaying trees, Veronica and Dylan spoke quietly. The conversation, soft and laden with vulnerability, turned to dreams and doubts. "Veronica," Dylan began, his voice sincere, "I know the past has shaped you and that it still leaves scars. But today, with you smiling and alive among all this beauty, I see a woman ready to embrace the future. I promise to walk with you, at your pace with respect and tenderness." Veronica searched his eyes, feeling the gravity of his words. "I've spent so long hiding behind my grief, thinking that moving on would somehow betray the memories of those I've lost. But today, I realize that living fully doesn't mean forgetting. It means weaving the past into a tapestry that's rich with both sorrow and joy." Karen, sitting quietly nearby, listened as the two spoke. Later that evening, she approached her mother. "Mom, I still have my worries, but I see you happy and that gives me hope. I want you to be true to yourself even if it means taking risks. I'm here too." In that tender exchange, Veronica felt a surge of relief. The path ahead was still uncertain, but with Dylan's gentle encouragement and Karen's cautious support, she knew she wasn't walking it alone. As dusk settled over the fairgrounds, the trio shared a quiet moment watching the sun dip below the horizon, a symbol of endings that gracefully gave way to new beginnings. That day, Veronica made a silent promise to cherish the past, yet not be defined by it, to welcome love and companionship again, even if it meant venturing into uncharted emotional territory, and above all to honor every heartbeat as a testament to a life reborn. And so, as the cool night air wrapped around them, Veronica stepped into this new horizon with a brave heart, ready to discover that even after the deepest losses, the future could hold a luminous, unexpected joy. In the weeks and months that followed, life began to settle into a new hopeful rhythm, a gentle blend of yesterday's memories and the vibrant promise of tomorrow. I discovered that every sunrise brought with it a quiet reminder that healing is not about erasing the past, but about learning to weave its lessons into a brighter future. Each morning as I sipped my coffee by the window, I watched the world come alive with soft hues of pink and gold. The lingering echoes of loneliness had been replaced by moments of quiet joy, the gentle laughter shared with Dylan over breakfast, the warm embrace that greeted me at the door, and the subtle nods of understanding exchanged with my daughter Karen. Once wary of change, Karen now saw in my eyes a renewed spark, a light born from embracing life despite its scars. Dylan and I grew together, our connection deepening with each honest conversation and every shared silence. His steady presence became both an anchor and a gentle guide, reminding me that true renewal comes when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable. On lazy afternoons, we strolled hand in hand through the garden, where every blooming flower was a testament to the beauty of second chances. I learned that the heart, no matter how bruised by loss, has an extraordinary capacity to love again. One cool evening, as twilight settled softly over our little home, I sat on the porch with Dylan and Karen by my side. The sky was painted in hues of lavender and deep blue, and the world felt vast yet intimately close. In that serene moment, I realized that I was no longer defined solely by the grief of my past, or the loneliness that once shadowed my days. Instead, I was reborn, A woman who had dared to step into the unknown and in doing so had discovered a deeper, more vibrant version of herself. I smiled as Karen squeezed my hand, her eyes reflecting a newfound trust and admiration. Dylan's gentle gaze reassured me that every step, even those fraught with uncertainty, had been worth it. Life, I now understood, was not a destination marked by regret, but a continuous journey of renewal, where every heartbeat carried the promise of a fresh start. And so, as the first star appeared in the evening sky, I embraced this new horizon with gratitude and hope. The past would forever be a cherished part of who I am, but it was the love, the laughter, and the courage to live fully that would light the way forward. A luminous path into the dawn of a new remarkable chapter. Thank you for following this journey with me. If you enjoyed this story of transformation and the quiet courage of new beginnings, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support means the world to me, and I look forward to sharing more stories of hope, resilience, and the endless beauty of life.